Howard Gardner has identified 7 distinct intelligences. This theory has emerged from recent cognitive research and documents the extent to which students possess different kinds of minds and therefore learn, remember, perform, and understand in different ways. This workshop is the first 2 days of a 5-day second grade language arts lesson that utilizes an activity that covers each of Gardner's multiple intelligences. This workshop is to be shared with my fellow teachers during a faculty meeting geared towards giving fresh ideas to teaching old subjects. All 5 days will be included in the full presentation. Start the lesson by giving the students a question that they will be able to answer by the end of the lesson. This question should be on the students' minds as the lesson progresses throughout the week. Students should be given the big question and then allowed to give answers based on what they already know from looking at the picture being presented. A KWL chart can be used during this time to quickly jot down some of the answers. Students should give answers based upon the title and picture and infer to what the story will be about. This allows the teacher to assess the student's prior knowledge. Before reading the story, give the student some background by going over some of the words that are often seen in reading. These words are also known as high-frequency words. Reading and sounding the high-frequency words helps to familiarize the students with the words. You'll see their faces light up as they come across them in their reading. As a precursor to the story, a writing prompt can be assigned for independent work in a writing journal. This allows the students to practice their writing skills. Remind students that the question must be answered in at least 3 to 5 complete sentences. It helps if the writing prompt is relevant to the story. The writing prompt here also includes some of the high-frequency words. It is also very important to introduce the students to the amazing words by not only reading them, but by showing how the words should be pronounced and the number of syllables. Practice sounding the syllables together like this: up, pier, runs. Then give the definition of the words and use the words in a sentence for further understanding. Here you will find another example. Students should view and speak the vocabulary words, spelling words, and amazing words each day during the week. Have the students go over the vocabulary, amazing, word family, and spelling words each day to help to familiarize the students with the words. This should be done in addition to the students' daily spelling homework. You want to be sure that the students are hearing the words multiple times as well as viewing them. Including an activity from the book on the first day is a great idea, and it will help prepare the students' minds for the story. Here we will view a section on comparing and contrasting moths and butterflies. The accompanying CD reads this section to the students, but have them follow along with their fingers on the words. I like to use this method because it makes it easy to see who is not paying attention so that I may redirect. This section mentions graphic organizers and uses T-charts as an example of a graphic organizer. Have the students listen to the story on the following page, and as a class, fill in the graphic organizer / T-chart. After discussing the T-chart and practicing as a class to create one, include a fun activity that can be a learning opportunity while testing their knowledge. For this story, I included an animal names T-chart. I included this T-chart because I want to familiarize my students with the use of different graphic organizers. Students are familiar with T-charts from math, and this is a way to show that T-charts can be used in many different ways to show different data. Continue this activity until the end so that students get an idea of how baby animals are called something different than when they are adults. You will find it interesting to see how many students are able to name all of the baby animal names. The main idea is to get them to see the difference in name for the young animal as opposed to the adult. Also include many pictures as examples of the amazing words. Students will often ask what something is even after using it in a sentence. I like to show pictures to help them complete their understanding. Here you will find two examples for the word stages. One shows the stages of life for beetle, and the other shows the stages for human. This story and lesson are taken from a second grade Scott Forsman's language arts book, and it suggests that this story lesson include a lesson on adjectives that compare as well as other skills. Center activities give the students the chance to practice the skills that are being taught and should be given daily. Independent work will also allow time for guided reading, writing conferences, and for the teacher to help students struggling with any concept. The actual story will be saved for tomorrow's class time. Day 2 allows the students to actually have the chance to read the story about frogs. A quick review of the previous day will prepare the students for the story. The story should be on a CD, so just click play and have the students follow along with their finger. If your story is not on a CD, you should read it to the students the very first time as they follow along. Reserve day 4 as the day to read the story together as a class. After the story is finished, talk about the steps in a frog's life cycle. Discuss how the frog's life cycle is alike and different from that of a human. Students should show comprehension strategies for reading and be able to correctly activate prior knowledge, make predictions, monitor their comprehension, ask questions, and make inferences. After discussing the life cycle of a frog, a good graphic organizer will give the students a visual and help them remember the steps. Have a student pass out all of the needed materials. Today's activity will include creating a frog life cycle graphic organizer using the above sheets. You can find different examples that give more or less detail about the stages by doing a Google search online. You can choose the one that best fits your language arts and science book for interdisciplinary activities. Start by explaining what you're going to do. Remind students about your lesson on graphic organizers and how there are different types. Ask the students if they can think of any. Answers should include things such as Venn diagrams, T-charts, etc. Explain to the students that you're going to create a graphic organizer that is of a different kind today. Walk the students step by step on how you made the graphic organizer. I usually use half of the Promethean board for pictures of the finished frog and the other half for the step-by-step instructions. Then show them step by step to ensure that they understand how to complete the task. The directions should sound similar to this. Okay, class, today we are going to complete a graphic organizer to help us remember the steps of a frog's life cycle. We have to put the steps in order to complete the cycle. On the board, you will see the finished product and step-by-step instructions that I want you to follow. Here is an example of the explicit instructions which are best for this grade level. After completing the frog graphic organizers, it is wise to walk the students through their spelling, vocabulary, and high-frequency words again. These words should be reviewed each of the 5 days. There are also more definitions that can be shared with the students as the week goes on. And here are some additional visuals for the vocabulary words. Continue the graphic organizer and comparing and contrasting activities by giving the students more practice with their independent work. The activity on this page shows the Venn diagram with instructions for the students to cut and paste the facts into the correct place. Here are the facts that students cut and paste into the Venn diagram. The lesson for this week has the students working on certain skills such as adjectives that compare and word structure that were mentioned before. I'd like to throw a review of another language arts skill that we have previously covered into their center and independent work each week so that we can continue to work on those skills. This week, I chose a fact and opinion lesson that continues to give facts about frogs while reviewing a previously learned skill. So far, this activity has allowed us to use a few of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. I try to incorporate them into as many of my lessons as possible. This goes beyond differentiation as I try to give each of my students an opportunity to learn in their own style. By the end of the week, with a complete plan, we will have used all of Gardner's multiple intelligences. I cannot show them now due to the time restraint, but my full workshop will include an entire week's lesson.